I really hate Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think it's one of the worst Marvel cinematic films of all time. Somebody at the studio didn't really pay attention to how the story was being developed. However, I still think that the movie has a lot of potential, so let's try to fix it, shall we? I think the main problem of the movie, in the whole sea of the problems that it has, is the fact that the main characters, Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, don't really have anything to do with the story. Like, sure, they are the protagonists, they are the superheroes, they have technically something to do, but they don't have any emotional connections to the story, they have no objectives. In a screenplay, usually characters have something known as the want and the need, something that they want to accomplish and something that they need to learn. Both Scott and Hope have none of these characteristics. So the first thing that we're gonna do in order to fix this film is that we're actually gonna give them some character motivations. On the side of Scott, I think this is very easily done. In Avengers Endgame, we found out that he had been trapped on the quantum realm for 5 years. To him, it was only 5 hours. However, to his daughter, Cassie, it was the normal 5 years, so she actually grew up without him. I think this could create a very interesting dynamic between the two characters. Similar to the original film, I think it would be interesting to see Cassie taking on a more rebellious character, like she's trying to help society, although the means in which she's doing that doesn't really bode well with what Scott Lang wants for her daughter, especially given Ant-Man's background in prison. So Cassie has been using illegally PIM particles to help people, and that has gotten into trouble with the law. So we can see a lot of conflict between father and daughter. And the solution that he comes to is that, similar to what he did in Avengers Endgame, he wants to use a time machine in order to travel to the past, to the exact moment that he got trapped in the quantum realm, so he can spend the lost time with his daughter. That actually gives Scott Lang an objective in the story. That's gonna be his main character motivation. On the other hand, we have Hope, who is the other side of the coin. Scott Lang is the parental figure that lost time with his daughter. Hope is the daughter that lost time to his parental figure, Janet, when she was trapped in the quantum realm. So, in the case of Hope, she is having trouble with his mother. Janet doesn't want to accept, let's say, the superhero life that Hope has been having as the Wasp. The main objective for Hope is to get the approval from Janet that she can carry on as the Wasp. So with the objectives in place, we can actually start with the adventure. We discovered that Hank Pym has been building a time machine using Tony Stark's design because he wants to keep exploring the quantum realm. And that's when Scott talks to him about his mission of going back with Cassie. So very similar to the original film, all the main characters go down to the basement of the Pym mansion to analyze the time machine that is being built. The machine goes awry and it absorbs all the main characters and transports them down into the quantum realm. So that is the beginning of the adventure, all of the main characters being absorbed down to another dimension. Very akin to the original film, we're gonna keep the main characters separated. On one hand, we're gonna have Cassie and Scott having their own little adventure through the quantum realm, and also we're gonna have the Pym family, Hank, Hope, and Janet, on their own little adventure as well. The adventure of the Pym family is gonna be very similar to the original film. They are gonna have to get transport, they're gonna get into the bar of Bill Murray character. So their adventure doesn't really change that much. The main thing that we're gonna do for their part of the story is that we are going to give Hope a lot more protagonism. In the original film, Janet is the one that is calling the shots basically throughout the movie. And that is not necessarily a bad thing, but like she gets very tiresome at some point, especially the way that she was written. Like she spends like half the movie just denying information, like she doesn't want to tell anyone what happened in her time down in the quantum realm, and I think that can get very tiresome. In this version of the film, Hope is going to be the one that actually leads the adventure. Jan is gonna be the know-how of the quantum realm, but Hope is the one who's going to be performing the dangerous stuff. This in her objective of actually impress Janet so she can get her approval. On the other side of the movie, we're gonna have Scott Lang and Cassie Lang. their adventure is actually going to change a lot. Unlike the original film, where the Quantum people are very friendly to them, in this version of the film, the Quantum people are actually very defensive towards their territory. The moment that Scott and Cassie arrive, they're gonna be attacked by them. This is coordinated by the leader of the Quantum people, Gentora. This is going to be because she finds them suspicious. Unlike the original film, in this version, MODOK actually saves Scott and Cassie. We are gonna keep him as a villain. However, spoiler alert, he is not going to be redeemed at the end of the story. So once Scott and Cassie are safe, they are taken to MODOK's master, Kang. However, in this version of the movie, he doesn't have his supersuit yet, nor his ship. And so he reveals to Scott and Cassie that the Quantum people actually stole his ship and they are keeping it safe in a fortress. Kang wants to use Scott Lang's thief abilities for him to steal the ship. He makes a deal with Scott Lang. In exchange for the ship, he's gonna take Scott to any place and, most importantly, any point in time that he wants. So Scott Lang finds it impossible to reject the offer, and he actually decides to help Kang, even though Cassie is not entirely keen into this collaboration. And so the next part of the film is gonna be Scott Lang preparing for stealing Kang's ship. Meanwhile, the Pym family has actually met with Bill Murray's character, who reveals that everything has happened so far has been the machinations of Kang. Darren Cross, who is MODOK, the villain of the first film, he was able to intercept Hank Pym's time machine and actually bring every character down into the quantum realm because he is knowledgeable on the great abilities that Scott Lang has as a thief. And Kang obviously needed someone to steal his ship for him. Bill Murray actually betrays Janet, an old ally from the revolution, and so they realize they need to hurry to find Scott and Cassie before they actually retrieve Kang's ship for him. Because Janet, who actually met Kang like years before in the quantum realm, knows what he is capable of. The next sequence will be Scott Lang actually stealing the ship. In this, we will be seeing Ant-Man's abilities, shrinking and getting bigger. We're gonna see Scott Lang using ants, and we're gonna watch him using his clever ways in order to surpass a lot of the protective measures that are keeping the ship safe. However, we're talking about Ant-Man here, so of course he gets the ship and goes back to where Kang is. At the moment that he is trading the ship, the Pym family arrives and Hope uses her blasters to damage the ship enough for Kang not to use. However, Kang is able to retrieve his supersuit and actually get his powers back. And so at the middle of the movie, we have Kang with his superpowers, who uses them to banish the Pym family and Scott Lang and kidnaps Cassie. This actually marks the midpoint of the movie, and we're gonna jump into the second half of the film. So, with his superpowers back, Kang launches an attack against the Quantum people and takes prisoner a lot of them, including their leader, Gentora. Once they were banished, Scott Lang gets the background of Kang from Janet, and he immediately regrets his decision to help him. So they decide to use their combined abilities to steal the ship back from Kang, and hopefully they can actually disable his supersuit. This is going to give us a chance to actually see them all working together. Besides Ant-Man and the Wasp, we have Hank Pym, who has the ability to communicate with ants, and Janet has had a lot of experience down in the quantum realm. They start crafting a plan to infiltrate the new Kang fortress, basically steal from him. Meanwhile, on the prison of Kang's lair, we have Cassie, who meets Gentora, who reveals to her the background of Kang and the evil deeds that he is capable of. Cassie decides to join the Quantum people in order to overthrow Kang. It's in this moment that Cassie reveals that she also has a supersuit and the abilities of shrinking and growing big. We have a whole sequence of our main heroes infiltrating Kang's fortress, and on the other hand, we have the action sequence of Cassie and the Quantum people escaping from prison and beginning an all-out war against the Conqueror. Suffice to say that the scheme of the Pym family is not completely functional. They get trapped at some point during their their scheme. It's in this moment that they are actually helped by the quantum people who are actually revolting. In this moment, we're gonna start closing the character arcs. Throughout the course of the adventure, Scott Lang got to know better Cassie as a person, and he is now ready to accept her as who she is. And he finds out that it's not necessary for him to go back in time to relive time with Cassie. He has a lot of time in the future to spend with her. He finally learns that it is not only about I need to go back in time to spend time with my child, is that I have time now. I can spend that time with her in this moment. He comes to that realization at the end of the film. On the other hand, we also have Hope Van Dyne, who, again, in this version of the movie, is more proactive. And so, throughout the course of the adventure, Janet has had the opportunity to observe the abilities of her daughter. And so, at the end of the movie, she's ready to accept that Hope has a superhero life and that she is okay with her being the Wasp. Similarly to the original film, Cassie is the one who beats down MODOK. She uses her power to grow big and defeats the secondary villain. So, with MODOK down and the characters reunited and the quantum people in full revolt, all that is left is to beat the main villain. Hank Pym, knowing that none of them can do anything against Kang in full on combat, he dismantles Kang's ship and uses its core to open a portal back home with the intention of sending Kang somewhere else into another dimension or another realm. However, this doesn't really work, as at the very last minute, Scott is unable to cross the portal back home and gets intercepted by Kang. Both of them fight very similar to the original film. We also have the original line, I don't need to win, we both just need to lose. In fury for what they done, Kang banishes him into another timeline where Cass is still a child, but in that specific timeline, Scott never got trapped into the quantum realm. Scott has to endure watching Cassie grow up without being able to participate in her life. Kang manages to escape the quantum realm, although without his supersuit and without his ship, and we have the rest of our heroes in the normal timeline, Hope, Hank, Janet, and Cassie, swearing on helping Scott wherever he is. I don't know. In my opinion, this version of the movie has better character motivation, has stronger action, and hopefully has something more to offer than the original film. So, what do you think of the new version of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Let me know in the comments below, and like and subscribe, and I will be seeing you on the next video.